The Earth skies were clear the night it began. No warnings. No signals. Just light blinding, golden, and fast. When the first ship appeared, people thought it was a comet. By the time it stopped over New York, it was already too late. James Hawley was a farm boy turned medic, pulled into military service after the first attacks. He had no idea why aliens targeted major cities, but everywhere they struck, they left behind nothing but ash. He wasn't a soldier by choice. He just knew how to treat wounds and how to stay alive. The strange thing was, the invaders didn't kill everyone. Some people were taken, some were scanned by odd light, and others were left untouched. James noticed it during evacuations. Women and children were often passed over, but adult males were always targets. He kept his head down and tried not to be noticed. Then one day, a silver drone scanned him and stopped. Instead of alerting more attackers, the drone turned blue and flew away. It was as if it recognized something inside him. He didn't know it yet, but he was different. And that difference would decide the fate of a planet. 2 nights later, during a rescue mission in the ruins of what was once a hospital, James heard a sound behind a collapsed wall. He dug with bare hands, expecting rubble. What he found made him freeze. It wasn't a human, it was her. Pale skin with soft patterns that shimmered under light, long silver white hair, and a wounded arm leaking blue liquid. An alien woman, but different from the ones who attacked Earth. Her eyes opened weakly. She didn't speak at first. Just looked at him, blinked once, and fainted. James didn't leave her behind. He pulled her out and carried her on his back. For 2 miles until he reached shelter. Everyone told him he was crazy for saving the enemy. But she didn't look like an enemy. She looked like someone lost. When she finally woke up, she was in pain. Her body shook. She tried to sit up but collapsed again. "I'm not with them," she whispered. Her voice was soft, trembling like wind through glass. "They're not my people. I came to stop them. I came for help. You were scanned. You match." James didn't understand, but he didn't need to. She wasn't lying. He could see that in her face. So he gave her water, bandaged her arm, and asked who she was. "My name is Valari," she said. "Doctor of the third moon. Our world is dying. The war was not meant to happen. We only needed something from Earth, something rare, something only one being had. Now everything is wrong." James asked what they were after. Valari looked at him, then at the cup of milk in his hand. She didn't speak for a while. Then, carefully, she asked if she could hold it. She touched it with shaking fingers. "This," she said, almost in awe. "It's the key, human lactogen. It holds something we've lost. Something ancient too. US but still alive in you. Our kind needs it. Our soil is poisoned. Our children can't grow. We thought the planet could survive, but it can't. Please. Let me try." James blinked. He laughed at first, thinking she was joking. But she wasn't. She looked desperate. Terrified. He didn't know if this was real or a game. But something in her eyes, hope mixed with fear, made him stop joking. She wasn't asking for much. Just a sample. Just a chance. Against all logic, he gave her a small amount. She scanned it with a glowing device, and her hands shook more the moment it turned green. "It's real. It's alive. Your body makes what we've lost," she said. "You can save thousands. Maybe millions. You don't understand how rare you are." James didn't want to be rare. He just wanted the war to stop. He didn't trust her completely, but he knew she wasn't like the others. And if helping her meant ending the destruction, then maybe it was worth it. But deep inside, he also felt something strange, something deeper. When she touched his hand, her skin was warm. Too warm, like it burned from the inside. And still, she didn't pull away. That night he sat alone under the broken sky, thinking, questioning. Why him? Why milk? Why now? But he also remembered the way Valari had looked at him, not like a soldier, not like an enemy, but like a miracle. And in that look, he found something new, a reason to keep going. James woke early the next morning to soft humming. It wasn't human. It sounded like music from another world. When he turned, Valari was standing by the window, holding the cup again, her fingers glowing faintly as her scanner processed more data. Her body looked weak, but her spirit was sharp. She was focused, working, scanning the liquid over and over. "It's alive," she whispered to herself. "Alive and perfect. You don't even know what you carry." James cleared his throat, and she turned slowly. "I didn't mean to wake you," she said, bowing her head a little. "It's fine," James said. "You scanned that thing all night?" Valari nodded. "This is more than just healing. This is legacy. Our world lost its soil cores. Purity. The biological code inside you is compatible with our oldest bioforms. It's not just your milk, it's your cells. It's inside your blood, your bones. Somehow your body creates a signal our plants still recognize." James blinked, not sure if he should feel proud or terrified. "So you're saying I'm farming medicine without knowing it?" Valari's lips curled into the first real smile he'd seen. "Yes, your body is the medicine. You are hope." The door creaked open as their camp leader, Sergeant Monroe, walked in. He spotted Valari and narrowed his eyes. "She's still here? Thought you'd be smart enough to turn her over by now." James stood in front of her. "She's not the enemy. She's a doctor. She wants to help." Monroe snorted. "Help? They leveled half the continent. You think we're gonna shake hands and trade soup recipes now?" James tried to explain, but Monroe wasn't listening. "When command finds out you're harboring her, they'll court-martial you." Valari stepped forward, calm but steady. "Your planet isn't the target, it's the cure. We came because we were desperate, but some turned the mission into war. I'm not one of them." She touched a device on her arm. A light flickered and showed a projection, a barren world, gray and broken. "This is what's left of my home. You call us monsters, but we're starving." Monroe looked away, uncomfortable. James saw the hesitation in his eyes. "Give me 48 hours, James said. "If I can prove she's telling the truth, will you let her speak to command?" Monroe sighed and left without an answer. That meant maybe. Valari collapsed soon after, her energy too low. James caught her before she hit the floor. "Your body's breaking down," he said. She shook her head. "No, it's adjusting. Your milk changed something. It's rebuilding me." James stared at her, stunned. "You drank it?" Valari smiled again, weak but glowing. "A little. I needed to know. And now I do. Your body makes exactly what my people need to survive." The next few hours passed in silence. James sat by her side, watching as color returned to her skin, as the veins of light under her arms stopped flickering. She wasn't just recovering, she was evolving. Her body was syncing with his biology. By nightfall, Valari asked to go outside. He led her to the hill where he often went to think. The stars were out, the sky cracked with streaks of blue lightning from distant alien storms. She stared at it like it was new. "We used to have stars like this," she whispered. "Now we have smoke." She looked at him then. "If your people agree, if they let us have access to your genetic sample, we can regrow forests again. We can purify water. It will take years, but it's a start. And it starts with you." James was quiet for a long time. He wasn't a hero. He was just a farm boy who got lucky during a war. But now someone needed him. Not as a fighter, but as life itself. "So what happens if they say no?" he asked. Valari looked down. "Then my people will die. And your world may face more attacks from others. Ones who won't ask. Ones who'll take what they want. But if we do this right, we can build something better. We can heal both worlds." James looked up at the stars, then down at the scanner still clutched in her hand. He thought of his cows back home, of how life used to be simple. And now, his milk-his own body was the difference between life and extinction for another planet. He didn't know if humanity would listen. But he knew one thing: Valari wasn't lying. And the war they were fighting wasn't the real war. The real war was for survival, and it had already begun. The next morning, James was escorted under armed watch into Central Command's medical dome. He wasn't under arrest, but the guards made it clear one wrong step, and he'd be treated like a traitor. Beside him, Valari walked slowly, her body still healing, her face calm but unreadable. Inside the dome, high-ranking officers waited behind bulletproof glass. Scientists in white suits whispered as they watched Valari's body pulse with a faint inner glow. James placed a sealed container on the table. Inside was a sample of his milk, taken under supervision. Valari stepped forward, lifted her scanner, and activated it. A green light filled the room. Symbols foreign to everyone but her flashed across the projection wall. "This," she said, voice steady, "is compatibility code. Human organic. Enzymes that match our world's extinct root flora. It doesn't just heal it, reawakens dormant DNA structures in our soil." The scientists stared in silence. One of them stepped closer to the glass and whispered to the lead general, "She's not lying. I've seen markers like this in ancient earth plants, fern types that disappeared millions of years ago." The general leaned forward. "What do you want from us?" Valari turned to James, then back to the men in charge. "A treaty. One that allows my people to send drones non-military, just for harvest. We don't need land. We need access to his body's output. Small doses, regular intervals. We'll pay in minerals and medicine. Anything Earth needs." The general's jaw tightened. "And if we say no?" Valari didn't flinch. "Others will come. Not all of them will ask first." There was a long pause. Then the general nodded to the guards. "Put them in holding. This goes to the council." The guards grabbed James's arm. "Hey, I volunteered for this. I'm not your prisoner." The general didn't even look at him. "Until the council decides, you're under protection. For now, that includes isolation." The cell was cleaner than expected. It had a bed, lights, and food rations. Valari sat on the floor, legs crossed, silent. James paced. "I can't believe this. I offer a cure, and they lock me up like a weapon." Valari looked at him. "To them you are." James stopped walking. "Why me? Why not just take it by force? Why didn't your people just land peacefully?" "And ask?" Valari's face darkened. "Because asking is slower than taking, and not all our leaders agreed with me. That's why I came alone." She lifted her sleeve and showed a deep scar down her arm. "I was attacked by my own. For trying to make peace. I stole the scanner and escaped. I found the signal on Earth. I found you." James sat down beside her. The silence between them wasn't cold. It was heavy. Full of pressure neither of them could control. Finally, Valari turned to him. "I don't just need your milk, James. I need your decision. If this becomes war again, I will be seen as a traitor, unless you stand with me." James's eyes searched hers. "You want me to become a symbol?" Valari nodded. "Not of power, of mercy." That night, James was taken to a separate chamber. Inside was a medical pod. The lead scientist approached him. "The council is debating, but we need more data. We need to test your cell output over time. Would you agree to full body scanning? And nutrient extraction for analysis?" James hesitated. "You want to treat me like a farm animal?" The scientist looked apologetic. "If what she says is true, then your body could restore life to a dying world. You're more than human. Now you're a resource." James closed his eyes. The thought made his skin crawl. But when he opened them, he remembered Valari's face, her trembling hands, her voice when she begged, "Let me try." He stepped into the pod. Fine, take what you need, but this ends in peace. Or I walk. For 3 days, he stayed under observation, monitored, measured, drained in small amounts. His body responded better than anyone expected. No harm done, and the results were explosive. Valari's samples taken to her small shuttle showed new life forming in soil simulators, tiny roots, sprouts, the first green signs her people had seen in a decade. The council watched the feed in silence. One of them, a female elder with silver eyes, whispered, "It's true. He can heal them." Now the question was not could they use him, but how Valari was allowed to see him again. Her face was glowing with hope. "It worked. Everything you gave, it's already growing." "They believe now." James didn't smile. "Do you?" Valari nodded, then touched her chest. "I believe so much it scares me. You're not just hope for my world. You're becoming something more." James stared at her, his mind spinning. He never wanted to be anyone's hero. But now he was the root of a future he didn't understand. And no matter what came next, he knew one thing for sure. There was no going back. James stood near the viewport, watching Valari's ship land quietly inside Earth's protected zone. The council had approved the test mission. One ship only. No weapons, no soldiers. Just soil samples, lab techs, and a few containers made to store his biological output safely. Valari stood beside him, wearing a clean suit given by command. It didn't quite fit her body. Her hair shimmered under the light, and her skin seemed brighter now, healthier. "You don't look like you're dying anymore," James said. She gave a soft smile. "Because I'm not. My body is stabilizing. Your cells, they're still inside me. They're helping." James shifted uncomfortably. "So I'm just leaking life into you?" Valari stepped closer. "No, you're sharing it, with consent. That's what makes this sacred to us." James looked into her eyes and said nothing. He didn't know what scared him more, the fact that he trusted her, or the way she made it feel normal. They boarded the alien ship together. Inside it felt alive. The walls pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. And the air smelled like fresh soil after rain. "This is the last one of its kind," Valari said. "A bioship grown from the last seed tree on our planet. We keep it alive using starlight and memory." James raised an eyebrow. "Memory?" Valari nodded. "Our ships respond to our thoughts. This one listens to me. It has since I was a child." As the ship lifted off, James felt weightless for a second, then calm. The journey only took a few hours. When they entered orbit above her world, he saw it through the screen gray clouds, broken lands, oceans turned black. It wasn't always like this, Valari whispered. "We had color, music, gardens that climbed the skies. Now we have ash." They landed in a dome near the last safe valley. Hundreds of her people waited. Pale, thin, eyes glowing faintly with hunger and sickness. Some were children with ribs too visible. Some were mothers holding dry roots in their hands like toys. All of them stared at James. Valari spoke in her language, her voice calm but strong. Then she pointed at him. The crowd bowed. James felt a chill. "What did you say?" he asked. Valari looked at him. "I told them, this is the one who carries life. I told them not to fear." He was taken to a medical tent. Inside, machines hummed gently. His blood, milk, and even skin samples were separated and mixed with soil. Tiny sprouts appeared in minutes. The soil changed color, regaining its dark, rich form. A small flower bloomed. A child gasped and ran to it, dropping to her knees. Valari knelt too, eyes full of tears. "This hasn't happened in 20 years. She said, "You just ended the famine." James didn't feel proud. He felt heavy. Every test they did pulled more from him. Each success meant more demands. More samples, more hours in the chair. His body was strong, but he was tired. "This isn't sustainable," he whispered. "I'm not a factory," Valari heard him. She walked over and gently touched his chest. "You won't be. We'll build farms, new biosystems, but we need you to guide us. Just for now." He sat up and looked at her. "Why me? Why not take this data and clone it?" Valari's face darkened. "Because your cells change with emotion. Your body reacts to care. Your milk only carries the strongest healing when you feel something. When you care." James frowned. "You mean I need to feel love to make it work?" Valari looked down. "Something close. It's a living bond. That's why the samples I took when you saved me were the most powerful." He didn't know what to say. Her people saw him as a savior. She saw him as a bond. And he wasn't sure what he saw her as until he looked into her eyes again. She wasn't just asking for help. She was asking for connection. That night, they sat by a small stream, new, clean, flowing again because of the soil James helped heal. Valari placed her hand over his. "We're linked now. Not by war, but by survival. What you give comes from the heart. That's why it works." James looked up at the stars above her world, cold, distant, but clearer now. "I'm not sure I'm strong enough to give this forever," he said. Valari leaned close. "You won't have to. You gave us a beginning. The rest we will learn. To grow ourselves." He believed her, not because she promised, but because when she smiled, the whole world seemed to breathe again. James woke to the scent of fresh earth and something new, flowers. Real ones, the kind that hadn't grown on Valari's world for years. Outside the dome, children laughed as they ran barefoot through damp grass, their hands full of glowing green petals. He stood at the edge of the medical tent, watching them run with wide eyes and bigger smiles. It was working. Everywhere he looked, life was coming back. The dirt was no longer gray. The skies had thinned. Rain had fallen the night before, clean, drinkable rain. Valari stood beside a small group of elders, explaining how to manage the new soil, how to keep the healing going. She moved like a leader now, not just a doctor. Her voice was steady, full of purpose. James watched her from a distance, still unsure of what role he truly played now. His body had healed thousands in just weeks. His presence had become holy to these people. Wherever he walked, heads bowed. Gifts were offered, roots, fruits, hand-woven cloth. Even animals were brought to his tent in thanks. But James wasn't comfortable. He didn't come here to be worshipped. He came to help. And now, every step he took felt heavier. Every drop of milk they requested, every blood sample they needed, made him feel less like a man and more like a tool. Later that day, as he sat alone near a stream, Valari approached quietly. She sat beside him, silent at first. Then she spoke. Softly, "You're tired." He nodded. "I thought I could handle it. But every day, they want more. And I'm starting to feel like I'm disappearing." Valari placed a hand over his. "You are not disappearing, you are giving. But even giving needs rest. You've already done more than anyone ever expected. We have enough now to grow without draining you." James looked into her eyes. "Then why do they still treat me like I'm the answer to everything?" Valari hesitated. "Because they're scared. They fear losing what you gave. Fear makes people cling. But I'll speak to them. I'll remind them that you are not a machine." He touched her hand gently. "I just want to be human again." She leaned into him, resting her head on his shoulder. "To me, you never stopped being one." That night, during the gathering under the restored moonlight, the first harvest ceremony was held. Hundreds of her people danced, sang, and celebrated the return of crops. But when they asked James to come forward and place his hand on the sacred seed stone, he paused. Valari watched him closely. She saw the weight in his eyes. He stepped forward, placed his palm on the stone, and whispered, "Only if this means freedom, not worship. Then he turned to the crowd. You are strong, you are alive, you don't need me forever. You only needed a chance. Now it's your job to build from that. There was silence for a moment, then applause, then cheers. Valari smiled with pride. The people bowed again, but this time, they did it not in worship but in respect. Back in the tent, James sat down heavily. Valari entered soon after, holding something wrapped in silk. This is for you, she said. He opened it slowly. Inside was a crystal vial, glowing with a soft green light. What is this? He asked. She explained, it's part of our seed memory, now awakened. It will grow anywhere, even on Earth. Your world gave us life. This is our gift back. James stared at it. A tree that remembers you, Valari nodded. Planted where? Your home once stood. Let your world remember us too. They sat together in silence after that. No words, just breath and warmth. She took his hand again, not as a doctor or a savior, but as someone who saw him fully, not a resource. Not a God. Just a man who gave when he didn't have to. James closed his eyes for a moment and whispered, You asked me once why I helped you. I didn't know then. But now, I think it's because I saw something in you that reminded me of home. Valari leaned closer, her voice gentle. And I saw something in you that reminded me of the future. He looked into her eyes. There was no war between them now, no fear, no orders. Just a strange, growing feeling neither had the words for. Yet, but both understood. Asterisk the shuttle hummed quietly as it hovered over the greenest valley on Valari's world. From above, the once dead land now bloomed in rows of soft crops, glowing vines and towering seed trees that shimmered with blue light. Rivers ran again, birds sang in the air. And below, her people danced, planting, rebuilding, healing. James sat beside Valari, watching in silence. He had done what he came for. His body was no longer being drained every day. Instead, his samples had been used to create new root colonies that now grew without him. He had taught them how to care for the process, how to respect it, not use. You've saved more lives than anyone in our history, Valari whispered, her eyes still on the window. James shook his head. No, I didn't save them. I gave them a door. They walked through it themselves, Valari smiled. She touched his hand, not to thank him, not to pull from him, but to hold it. The council has agreed, she said. You're free to return to Earth. There's a ship ready. And they've named the green zones after you, Hale Fields. James stared out again. He should have felt proud. But all he felt was stillness. Earth doesn't have a place for me anymore, he said softly. They'll call me a lab project. A carrier, or worse, a target. Valari looked at him gently. You don't have to go. You're not a guest here anymore. You are part of this world now. If you wish to stay, there's room for you. He turned to face her. You're not saying that out of duty, are you? Her eyes softened. No, I'm saying it because I don't want to rebuild this world without you beside me. Outside. The ship, children waved as they spotted the shuttle. Valari stood and pressed her palm to the door. The ramp lowered and warm sunlight flooded in. She stepped down first. James followed slowly, his boots pressing into soft living soil. People gathered around them, smiling, not bowing, not worshiping, but welcoming. The first to greet them was a young girl who handed James a flower. It's from the root seed you gave us, she said. We call it the heart leaf. James knelt, smiled at her, and took the flower carefully. It's beautiful, he said. So are you. Valari led him to a small home built from living wood and glowing vines. It stood on a hill, overlooking the river and the fields. This was made for you, she said, and for whoever you choose to share it with. James stepped inside. It smelled like home, like warm air, like peace. A chair made from woven branches sat near a table, and the wall pulsed with quiet light. It was alive like the rest of Her world. He turned to her and asked, "Did you always plan for this?" Valari stepped closer. "No, I only hoped. I didn't expect to care this much for someone not of my kind. But now, I do." James looked down at his hands. "I'm just a farm boy. I gave milk, that's all." She reached out and touched his chest. "You gave hope. That's more than milk. That's soul." Later that night, under the stars of a healed sky, the people of Valari's world lit the ceremonial lights. One by one, floating lanterns rose into the air, each carrying a single word of thanks written in their language. Valari handed one to James. "You should send one too." He stared at the small lantern, then picked up a stick and wrote a word. When Valari saw it, her breath caught. It was written in English, but she understood it anyway. "Home." The lantern lifted, drifting higher than the rest, carried by the wind above the valley of holly fields. James turned to her as she stepped. Beside him, her hair brushing his shoulder. "So what now?" he asked. "Vel L." I smiled. "Now we live." James reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away. The war was over. The healing had begun. And in this strange new world where soil could sing and milk could restore life, two hearts that had once belonged to different stars now beat in rhythm, not as savior and patient, not as species or strangers, but as something new, something quietly powerful, together.